I just want to quickly respond, and then I have to go to Ajay. Amit, I'll come to you after I sort of give it to Ajay, because he's waiting patiently, and I appreciate that. The gentleman there, can I just ask now behind you? Yes, our guest from abroad, if I may say, if I may call. May I ask you something? Can you take a guess of how much of the technology in medicine, medical technology, is imported to India? How much of the total technology that the Fortises and Columbias and Apollos and Manipals use? Take a guess. No one is going to prompt. Not an aspirational answer, but a guess.
Between 40%
is imported. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, please allow me to dwell on this for a minute to build on what Milon said. Any answer from our colleagues from India? Any answer? Just not J&J, please. A backbencher. Are you from J&J? The ladies behind the last bench. It's 10 years back. Ajay is one of the ex-organizations. McKinsey, some of us in the industry did a study. It was the answer was about 85%. Guess what it is today? 80. 10, 12 years later. That's the answer. And I think the key message here is that we all have to work with the new government to ensure that there is reduced complexity in starting local manufacturing. There is more domestic incentivization of domestic innovation. Jack Welch Center and Philips Innovation Centers also, and some of the manufacturing. The cost of delivery, any guess of cost of delivery of Manipal, how much of that technology contributes? One guess? Anyone? There, that side? Ajay spends 100 rupees on a hospital. How much of that is technology on an average?
6%.
6%?
Yeah.
We would like you to please, I don't know if our technology friends, they're going to talk to you over coffee after this. There's a reason. Any other guess? And thank you for being bold and answer. 25, keep going, auction, Sotheby's, yes. 40% on an average, 35-40% is on technology, and much to do with import. In spite of the reduction of import duties dramatically from 80 and 90 and 100% to 0 and 5 and 9. In spite of that, there's a food for thought here. Thank you for bringing this element. I think it's a big subject. I'll now like to go to someone. Ajay, please allow me, and others, please sort of excuse me for doing it. Ajay, I always found Dr. Ajay Bakshi extremely interesting combo of a background. Ajay, I'll just name instead of reading things, the full sentences. Business school, Wharton. Very well-trained neurosurgeon from AIIMS. McKinsey, Max, Manipal. I'm going to ask Ajay, this is a very rare combination. So to this rare combination, I'm going to ask what I warned you with about half an hour back, the Bharat and India part. I mean, what do we do? It's like, India is like, we're talking about Sweden, Aditya loves Sweden, Sweden to Italy, Yugoslavia to England, and in between comes a lot of countries, Lithuania and all that. That's Europe. That's EU. EU and India. I mean, India and Bharat. With your very long perspectives, diverse perspective, Ajay, owning the, if I may say, balance sheet of countries, two of the best, well-known, eminent corporate hospitals, X and now. What is the context of all these, you know? And how shall government look at private sector, all these medical acts coming in now to put a cap on the fees, cap on the diagnostic charges, cap on the pathological charges? Maybe it will reflect on bottom lines of the corporate hospitals. I know it's a plethora of a combination of subjects that I've mentioned to you. We'd love to hear from you this potpourri that is Indian healthcare, and what's the solution ahead?
So it's a very interesting question. Actually, I think it's very simple. The Indian is one. I have seen, as a doctor, now since you asked me from different perspective, I have seen a doctor, a poor family coming from Muzaffarnagar, and me in a private setting saying that, you know, I don't think you can afford it, I'll refer you to AIIMS, some of my friends will help you. They're saying, no doctor, we will pay. we will pay, because this is my brother's son and I want to do the best for him. So, so that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, day before yesterday I had a haircut and I paid 400 rupees.
Nice haircut.
Right? But it took 90 seconds with a clipper. The total training amount, the total training of that very nice hairdresser was probably 3 months. Right? My nephrologist charges 500 rupees for a consult, and it took him 20 years to reach the expertise where he has reached. And on top of it, the government says doctors charge too much. Right? So there is this dichotomy of, if I may say, government or public health officials with very skewed mindsets, causing more confusion than allowing the markets to figure out which consumer is willing to pay what for what expertise, at what location and at what quality. Indians are smart. I mean, Airtel has figured that out. They can sell 100 minutes of airtime to my security guard. When I call him, he's got a ringtone, he's paid probably 5 rupees for that. Right? He is making a choice to have a Bollywood song as his ringtone. Government is not saying that no, he's a poor fellow, you should, control whether Airtel can sell ringtone to him or not. But when it comes to healthcare, when somebody has to go and pay 600 rupees for a super specialist, they say this something is unfair about it, right? So I think it's a mess, mainly because we have people who are messing with it. There are people actively messing with it. The same government which has passed that law also knows that in order to become a cardiologist in this country today, 80% of people have to pay 1.5 crores, right, as a capitation fee. So, and where is that money going to? The same members of parliament's pockets, because they own most of those medical schools. So somebody has to ask these questions to the same government that please get out of the way. Let the patients and doctors meet either through EICUs or through government hospitals or through private hospitals and get themselves sorted out. It will be a great day in this country when the government says, you know what, let the markets take its own course. Now, having said that, of course, there is a 400 million people who need health insurance, and I really admire schemes like RSBY and Arogyashri. I think that they play a very important societal role, which we must not underplay. I mean, free markets don't work, and that is one lesson we have learned from the West, that free markets don't always work. But you have to be smart about what you do and not silly about messing things around, and we have too much of messing things around. I want to add another dichotomy that exists. When a journalist in India interviews me, it's always about, why is healthcare so expensive? When I go to Harvard, they say, how do you do things so cheap? It's the same thing. My joint surgery costs $4,000. It's the same debut, since we are J&J, it's the same debut knee joint that a Harvard guy puts for $25,000. I don't know what it costs in Boston, but probably $25,000. My surgeon does what? 200 procedures in a month. That guy will be doing 20 in a month. So probably, now of course this is an extrapolation, the quality and the experience of the surgeons in India is much better. So the point I'm trying to make is, and this is aimed at Chirantan and the thought leaders of IIMB, we have missed a trick on educating our consumers about cost. When you spend $4,000 or 2 lakh rupees on getting a new joint replacement for your Nani ji, it is not expensive. You are getting the cheapest and the best knee replacement that you can get in the world. You should be grateful for it, rather than saying that I am okay to spend 5 lakh rupees for my daughter's wedding, but I am going to negotiate a 20% discount from the doctor for a 2.5 lakh rupee knee joint, right? So I think there is a awareness gap in our consumers about cost, and I hold ourselves responsible for it. We are always apologetic. We are always on the back foot. We always feel that, somehow if somebody accuses us of being expensive, we should feel sorry. I actually tell customers that maybe you're too poor and you don't want to take care of your father. And then they, no, doctor, we have money. We will pay for this. So I think, honestly, the middle class, if you go to Bhatinda, those patients proudly come and bring money and they say, no, we want to take care of our father. If you come to the so-called educated elite, we start seeing this hypocrisy. I've just come from New York, Dr. Matt. I want to take care of my father, but I got a flight tomorrow, right? So please do whatever you have to do today, and then I'm gone. So we have to call a spade, and there are a lot of things that we as industry leaders have to do. And one of them, which I will encourage a partnership with IIMB, is get clearer on cost. And even for Nat Health, I've told Shabnam also this, and I know you are doing a full exercise on cost. I bet you that the cost of doing a bypass surgery, cost, real cost, I'm not saying the price, the cost of doing bypass surgery in AIIMS will be 5 times the cost in Fortis or Max or Manipal. Yeah, but the same patient will come to you and say, Doctor, why are you so expensive? The societal cost, the AIIMS budget is around 1300 crores for one hospital, and we think that is very cheap. We are all paying, that's our tax money going into AIIMS, right? And I am an AIIMS product, I'm very proud of what it is, it used to be. But the cost is not clear. So I think that's a challenge for all of us, and Chirantan wants to say something on this, is something that we have to educate our own people, our own leaders sitting over here, as well as the customers, that okay, what you are getting is actually, you should be grateful for. Chirantan, you want to say?
Chirantan, please go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. So no, so I think there is a committee that's constituted between the government and the private sector. All of us are participating in it. There's an ongoing study where actually, that's why I say what Ajay is saying is factual. It's a question of admittance by the government, but it clearly with data we've shown that it costs a lot more in the public sector today than in the private sector. The reality is, in the public sector, you have a budget to spend. As an example, and it's funded by taxpayers' money. In a private sector, you have to charge the patient or the insurance company or against government schemes and earn it. That's the difference. And it just becomes very obvious to a patient paying to a private system than to the government system, simply because it's subsidized. So the reality is, if you calculate the cost, it exists, but they don't recognize it. And quite honestly, this bill that has been referenced, which we expect might be passed, but I think, Anjan, you should be doing everything to stop for it being passed as our association. But honestly, that this is far away from reality. I mean, the haircut is one example. There are many, many examples which will tell you their cost at the government end is much higher than ours, but simply because it's somebody else paying for it, they don't recognize it, and it's a populist scheme from our perspective.
Yeah, let me just make a quick comment. My perspective, someone who has grown up in healthcare in various countries, very difficult subject. I mean, I will not say anything more. And Aditya, I wish I/Nat Health were that powerful. I will now give a twist in the tail for all of you. I will challenge what you are saying by saying that, is there an image issue? Are we responsible a little bit in the private sector in healthcare for not having taken care of that issue? We had done with our knowledge partner Bain and Company, I'm triggering him to start working with Nat Health soon, you know. So, can you guess, you see a lot of issues in newspaper every day. Over a 2-year period, we scanned around the country. One guess, please. Let me request you to please introduce yourself. Back, gentleman, nice mustache, blue shirt. Are you from?
Kovai Medical Center.
Kovai Medical Center, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Can you guess what came out as the top issue in Indian healthcare? Not cost, not affordability, nothing. This big amplitude.
That is doctors cut.
Trust deficit. These two words, trust deficit, across, between government and private, between deliverer and technology provider, between nursing home and middle hospital, between mid-size hospital and big hospital, between insurance and everybody. There's a big difference between NASSCOM and Nat Health. NASSCOM started 27 years back when it was green shoot stage. Everybody got together and said, we want to be the #1 industry in the world, and they made it, including government. We are starting initiatives like collaborating initiatives today, better late than never, but we are starting when the trust deficit is already 6 feet deep. So at first we have to come to ground level. So going back to what Ajay very rightly said, with a bit of annoyance perhaps, and rightly so, but I think we need to introspect and think in private sector, is there an image issue that we have created? I'm throwing a little challenge at you guys. How many times we see in the first page of Times of India, someone, Azim Premji has given 100 crores, I'm just taking a figure, excuse me, Mr. Premji, I have high regard for him, or Nandan Nilekani and his wife has given this for doing this. How many times have we seen that coming from healthcare senior leaders of the country or top organizations? You know, so right. So that's fine. You know, one thing I see in Milan, I mean, I was looking for someone a better salesman than me. I tell you, he has used his airtime for Jeep to absolutely to the full. You know, I like it, but that's part of the game. That's why we are all here. You know, taking flights in the morning. I'm so trust deficit and image are 2 points which I think don't get resolved. Remember what Steve Jobs said? Please, gentlemen, you said correctly. What did he say? Stay hungry, stay foolish. Stay hungry for thinking more, stay foolish. Don't assume at the end of a 2-hour panel in IIM Bangalore with a great Professor Chirantan and great guys like Sushovan, we'll have all solutions of the world. But it is awareness creation. On the flight back, if Aditya thinks, what can I tell Shivinder? In really this valid point Anjani is making and many others, is there a solution here? Can we work together with the government saying that, hey, let's do, I'm just throwing something. Let's invest a little bit together, do some pilot project to, I stop. How many of you has seen a primary health care, rural or in your own city? You have seen? One word description of primary health centers in our country? One word. Dismal, pathetic. As a fellow citizen in our country, I feel ashamed. And you don't have to go to 200 kilometer away villages from Bangalore or Delhi. Please drive down from a 5-star hotel to Khirki village in Delhi for the Delhiites. You go there and you see the condition of our fellow citizens and primary center. I'm throwing a challenge. How about spending just X lakhs of rupees between some of us, maybe Nat Health, for collaborating with the state government and saying we have the greatest of technology providers, we work together for developing one pilot project with one village with all the technology, and it is within the city, Gurgaon, Delhi are accessible. I'm just throwing a crazy idea. I know companies like Johnson & Johnson, for example. You know, Sushovan has talked to me few times about proudly what Johnson & Johnson has done for in various areas which are societal. And I'm sort of going through my notes I made in the flight. You know, Chirantan has made all of us study a lot. Core objective function of corporate hospital. Is it profit or societal surplus maximization? Chirantan, I've studied, huh? Any hybrid model possible? Beautiful question. I would like, now we have got, I'm surprised that we have managed to spend 1 hour and 35 minutes non-stop and good discussion, but it's still skewed. I think more audience now and less of us. So please get involved in the discussion. I have been as provocative as I can be. I repeat, please, if it is a good point, credit goes to Chirantan. If it is too provocative, guys, please don't hit me in the coffee time. Please go to Chirantan. By the way, I like this statement. Core objective function of corporate hospital, profit or societal surplus maximization, any hybrid model possible. Just as a thought starter, you know, sort of, is there anything to do with the image that we're talking about? I don't know how many people in this room are there. I think Alok can claim that along with me. 15 years back onwards, we have gone to the government and a lot of things have been done. Alok, when you and I, Alok Mishra is a very senior leader in Johnson & Johnson. He was my successor in CII as the chairman of Medical Equipment Division. We have worked beautifully together, hard work to get duties down from 80-90% to 0% and 5%. That's what started the revolution in private healthcare because costs straight away went down by 80-90%. So a lot of good things have happened, but questions for all of us. I also come from private sector. What have we done to show to the society and government that we are also society conscious? We met, I know video recording is happening. I am still going to say this. Some of us from Nat Health went to meet the new health minister of the country. Very good meeting. I appreciate. 1 hour. After about 20 minutes, we submitted budget proposal. Tax holiday, incentive, this, that. We want to bring in more local manufacturing. They are all very good points. After 20-25 minutes, he said, please tell me what plan do you have to support society? And he stuck to that for the next half an hour. Is there a thought in this? I'm just sort of to make the last half an hour of this great panel discussion a bit spicy, throwing out this question. Ajay, I actually took the cue from you. So would you like to start and then give it to Amit as a neutral person maybe?
So society, each one of our customer is a member of the society. That's also service. Today,
Then why is the image so poor
No.
about healthcare? Let me trigger you as a doctor. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
interrupting.
sure.
Just to make it spicy, as I said. I mean, you know, we are complaining for the last 2 decades that healthcare gets bashed up. So I'm a challenge. This industry, at the end of the supply chain, you have a bottle of water. Great product. We have a inanimate bottle of water. I think there's old company, great company. I love GN, correct? At the end of the supply chain, you have a beautiful car. No life. Of course, car lovers would not accept that. But I you know where I'm coming from. So, no life. Healthcare industry. I have stopped using the word industry, as Sushobhan knows, our senior vice president, next president, probable president from Nat Health. Healthcare industry, at the end of the supply chain, you have a sick patient surrounded by very worried family or friends. There has to be some difference in approach, right? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm also from private sector. I worked only for Hewlett Packard and Philips.
so actually private sector is best
What to
at
do,
creating
Ajay?
value.
What's the answer?
Let's learn from J&J.
Okay,
What J&J
great.
did in the US
So,
for
Shobhan, I didn't trap you.
for
Is that
nursing. And I think this is for everybody's benefit. I'm sure Soshobhan can tell us more. In the 80s and 90s in the US, they had a very hard time recruiting nurses. So around mid 90s, I think there was a decision made in J&J that we're going to change the perception of society for nurses. And since then, I think it's a continuing program. There are ads which come in US newspapers saying, I am a nurse in this hospital, I also do this, right? So women are proud, even men. It's not only women, it's black men, it's Hispanic men, it's all of that. So a lot of investment has gone to educate customers what a nurse does. And therefore, when they meet a nurse, they're respectful rather than, you know, this is a terrible job. And I think in India, we also have that problem. So I think perception is manageable. If anything, private sector knows that well. Ask Coke, ask Pepsi, they can sell us sugar water and have a $60 billion brand. But we as healthcare industry have honestly not such a great perception. So I come back to my point of we are not spending enough time educating our own people and our customers on what we do and why it is good, right? So this is a great start that we have all of these people in this room.
Absolutely. Amit, you wanted to make a few points. And as Amit is making the point, Kirtan, we stick to 6 p.m.? 6 p.m.? So 20-25 minutes. I would really request now sort of a free-for-all kind, you know. I mean, here are eminent panelists. If you see, without even going to this list, all points have been covered because of the content of this panelist, if I may say. So I would like to have Amit sort of trigger that free-for-all in the last half an hour. But let's just sort of stick to meaningful points and good exchanges. And any question for the panelists, please? Go ahead, Amit.
So I'll make 2 points. One, I think on this whole point around, satisfaction, and I don't think you can separate societal obligation from profit making. I think then fundamentally definition of any business does not stand. And I think reality is healthcare is a business and it has to be run as a business. If it's not run as a business, then we will not generate the efficiencies that are required to build scale and quality, right? I think the second point is, let us also appreciate the fact that corporatization of healthcare in India is not very old. And if I ask for a show of hands across this room and even from this panel, how many people are rewarding, incentivizing, tracking and managing customer/patient satisfaction and do they have a core department like a bank, an airline and a retail company which continuously manages patient engagement, patient centricity and patient satisfaction? How are you thinking that you are influencing his or her behavior or needs? I think all of us are assuming that his or her satisfaction is based on the outcome. Acha, if the patient survives, if the price what the patient felt has been met, then the patient walks away satisfied. If the patient had ended up paying more than what he thought he will pay, he is dissatisfied. Or if he's not been communicated well, or he didn't get the room that he wanted on time, he's dissatisfied. You must all see this, you know, like US Week does this survey on best hospitals. The three things that they track are survival rates, clinical quality, and quality of nursing care. And the question back to all of y'all is, how many of y'all are tracking it and seeing whether it really influences patient satisfaction or not? All of us think that patients are walking into the hospital on the recommendation of the doctors. We did a survey and we realized that it's only 7 to 8% of the patients now, even in India.
Thank you. Amit, thank you. Oh, sorry, anything? Yeah?
Can I just address the...
Yeah, now we'll go for brief comments exchange.
Yeah, sure. So I just want to make one comment. I think one of the healthcare conferences that we hosted recently, my main point of discussion was patient centricity. It's going to determine how and what we do at the end of the day. To answer your question, Amit, I mean, at Fortis, we are at the cusp of appointing a chief patient experience officer, as we would have a chief financial officer and chief people officer, chief medical officer as well, because the reality is 90% touch point is with non-doctors. When a person comes through the procedure, 1 hour to 2 hours in the OT, and the rest is with the rest of the system. So obviously, the level of understanding has to go up multifold. Not that companies like ours have not been tracking, but to us, 85% satisfaction is just not good enough. You have to be in the mid to late 90s. Certainly, some of the points you mentioned are very pertinent, but what is also important is how your security guard treated them, how they were guided through the hospital, how easy you made it. Things like parking. And interestingly, in all the patient surveys, one interesting element that comes out is that they will never say anything negative about the doctor. They're afraid of the doctor because they have to go back to the doctor. And they may think that the hospital system will read it and say, okay, he was not satisfied with me. Well, it doesn't get that granular, honestly. But they will complain about our canteen, they will complain about our parking and OPD service, so let's say the OPD pharmacy and so on and so forth. Queues at the OPD pharmacy. So I think we are tracking it. All I'm trying to say is that it has to go to a different level. And that's why this whole concept of Chief Patient Experience Officer. So all I'm trying to say is we are thinking about it, but the paradigm has to shift much quicker.
Thank you. I think that's a very powerful statement, Aditya, we just made. That we are, that's a good beginning. That we are thinking about it. It is seeping into the ecosystem of healthcare deliverers. I think technology providers anyway have been doing customer satisfaction for quite some time. The discerning customers that we have, there was no choice. But possibly, I see Milan smiling because that's the way. I think consumers of healthcare deliverers are patients. In our country, it was cultured in our country, like Aditya has put, to sort of consider doctors as God and sort of, not question. But today, when patients, like in any other industry, they are questioning, they have begun to question in healthcare also. And I once again repeat what I said, this is the most most often we talk about this image thing. But I ask all of you in the audience as well as in the panel to seriously think about what can we do in a concerted manner to get the image of healthcare sector corrected. And I'll steal from Aditya this phrase. Aditya, much quicker action needs to be taken on that, And what can we do on a platform like NatHealth, etc. I go back to Sushovan. I think Amit gave a good suggestion, or Ajay, you asked, I think. Sushovan, would you like to please take it? I mean, from the world's one of the most respected medical technology organizations. How do you maintain this balance of image and business, if I may say?
Thanks, first of all, Ajay, mentioning J&J to be a pioneer in this. And the reason what we do is we have been following over the last almost since 1943. We follow a document, and all of you are clearly aware about the document which is called our Credo. And if you go through the Credo, it gives us the guiding principles how every employee operates across in Johnson & Johnson. And we try and involve the environment and the stakeholders in following the principles of our credo. And it states very clearly where our focuses would be. Our first response, it was written, 4 paragraphs. First responsibility to our customers, second responsibility is towards our employees, third responsibility to our community that we live in, and the final responsibility is to our stockholders. So that document itself, when we follow, it gives us a clear understanding and balance of where we would like to focus ourselves.
Thank you, Sushovan. Dr. Jairam, any quick bite? We'll go for quick bites for the next 12 to 15 minutes and then we'll close it. Any quick bite, Dr. Jairam?
No, the trust deficit that we are talking about and the perception is because we have inherited, thanks to our socialist past, a certain perception about health. And that health is something that is charity, that is done free of cost. We've inherited that. And that also is a strong reason for people not to accept the fact that health is a business. And I think our ability to communicate this to society and to people and government, yes, certainly. And I think everybody here will agree. In the government, if you look at bureaucrats, the bureaucrats who are 50 plus have a very different view towards numbers and the the word profit. Whereas the younger, the more the 40s and 30s bureaucrats look at it differently. So I have hope that once they 50 plus retire, we'll be in good shape.
That's a good one. Some of us have shown the way. I think I think it will be good if we take some questions. Please introduce yourself, and if there is any panelist who you think should answer, please name them.
No, I have some comments about the discussion that go on.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Swagata Chatterjee. I am a FPM student from IIM Bangalore itself. It's a doctoral program that is going on in IIMB. So I am from marketing area and I do not know anything about healthcare or medical services, etc. What I will talk here from the consumer point of view. So yeah, there is a. I will agree with Amit that there is a huge gap in what in the value proposition that the doctors give us and what we get, and this gap is making the life of the doctors more tough because we are not actually realizing that this is the value of the service. Now the main point why we are not realizing that the value is we are not educated in the medical world. So I go to a doctor and he sees me for 5 minutes and prescribes me some medicine and goes off, and I pay 500 rupees. That is not right for me. Now I think here is the biggest difference what other industries and healthcare has is, say, even in the technology world or even in the education world. So as Dr. Jairam just told that we see healthcare as a social service kind of thing, and we do not, general people do not think that it should be profitable, profit-making business. The same thing applies to education also. We see teacher and professors as who can give us knowledge, and they should not make it as a business. But why the difference comes is with the advancement of technology, education is almost free in this real world, but medical service is not. Even technology industry was at some point of time, 10 years back, was very profit making and was very concentrated to some portion of the whole population, which is medical service also is like that. What I think will break this difference and break this gap is you make open source. Yeah, it's a challenge for the doctors who are right now here to give open source service to the open source service as well as open source knowledge to the.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chatterjee. That's a great suggestion. Yes, please. Yeah.
Just a short point back, and I'll throw marketing reality back to you. Many of the goods that you've talked about are fundamentally aspirational products which people crave for. Why do you pay 55,000 bucks for an iPhone? Because you really want to have it. Healthcare is not something that you want to avail of. You're forced to avail of it. And therefore it's not something that you are going out of your way to say, I want to pay for healthcare, I want to pay for healthcare. Right? You do that for a car, you do that for a hotel, you do that for a restaurant. All of these places you have the propensity to pay, right? You want to pay. And I think that's a very important distinction between the two industries. At some point of time, yes, we have to address it. Yes, we have to make sure that we educate the customer. I agree with all of that. But this is a very important differentiation. And we shouldn't confuse the industry requirements and the consumer requirements and say on a generalized basis that this is why doctors don't get paid properly or whatever. If the doctor was giving you, well, let me put it, it's a crude example, but if the doctor was a spa therapist, you would pay $3,500 for it, right? But you say no, for 15 minutes or 30 minutes of consultation, he charged me 600 rupees. So I think there is a little bit of that in the customer's mind. It's not an easy one to play over.
I think Milan, what as a consumer, what Chatterjee said, right? And as a healthcare stakeholder, how you addressed, brings me, if I view it from a point of neutrality, again is what I think has been reinforced. Awareness generation, not enough focus has been there. And I heard, I think Aditya murmuring when Dr. Jairam was saying government, he added the word. I fully support you. And I think there has to be, when the trust deficit has gone 6 feet deep, then we have to be patient and resilient in at first bringing it to ground value. Okay? I have about 4 minutes left for 6 o'clock. Yes, the gentleman.
So, is it? We are talking
Introduce,
about.
please.
Yeah, it's Nikhil. I'm from Cerner. I head their sales for India. So, this is possible.
Sales where?
Cerner.
Okay.
So, is it possible that we are missing a big part of healthcare delivery here? That unorganized sector, which is creating the trust deficit. Corporates are pretty transparent. You know what are they going to charge. Is it possible that we are missing that unorganized sector in tier 2, tier 3 cities where doctors charge anything they want? And the reputation, again, as you said, top 20 cities, 70% of healthcare. Rest of the country.
Personally, I think it's a very good question, which I will look at. Where is Chirantan? And possibly it's a learning that yes, it's corporate and private sector global lead, and it's global consulting and it's top corporate. I personally think that that's a very good element for future. Having said that, to defend Chirantan and I am Bangalore, have you gone to, have you seen Disneyland? Anyone has seen, many people have seen Disneyland, I'm sure. You have seen Disneyland, no? Kaisa laga? Fantastic laga ki nahi? Fantastic, no? You know what has stuck in my, I went as a Philips young engineer many decades back. And what has stuck in my mind is a small placard outside one of the gates I came out, which said, "This work shall remain incomplete as long as human imagination lasts." These words have remained with me after 35 years because I felt it was terribly humble. I think there is an element of humility that we all need to carry from such discussions, that there is no end. We can always learn from any panel discussion. I would like myself, I'd appreciate an Aditya, the leaders in this field, or Amit or Ajay, or GEs and Philipses and Johnson Johnsons of the world, to think on the way back home that what is it that we can do so that we become a bit more complete. We'll still remain incomplete, bit more complete. I just wanted to make that point, okay? Two last questions. Yes, ladies first. Sir, I'll come to you, but sort of, ladies first kind approach. So, inclusivity also.
I'm Dr. Hema and I come from Max Healthcare. It's a pleasure meeting you, sir. And I have... Yes.
There's an HR message there.
No, I am very much happy with my organization. And this is a question that I would like to go for Milan. Sir, you said that patients should have an access. We want to come up with that technology that they should not be coming to the hospital, and then we should be providing access to them at home. I have two questions. Don't you think in the longer run, are we going to take away the business from our doctors? Because we have had done, I could quote this because of an example that we've just faced recently in our hospital. We did a pilot project of providing immunization to neonates at home. And we took a buy-in from all our consultants. We discussed with them that we would be providing them. We got a physician, SR, to do this job. But somewhere down the line, it did not work out well, because after some time, the doctors came back and said, no, we are taking away our business, number one.
What's the question, madam?
So the question is about the technology that is going.
No, I want to have it for, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I see, so he's got
This
it
is
there.
Maxine one. Sorry, I want to hear from you.
So-
what was the question? I missed it.
Was that, sir, key is the technology. I mean to say, like what he said, the prevention before that, and secondly is about the doctor's business in the longer technology. Well,
So two points, and I'm sure that they'd like to comment on it. The first,
How much? That's a sign that's called, the last 9th and 10th batsmen are working, playing so well that the match is going to affect. Yeah, this is cricket, and we'll talk less about it. Yes.
2 points I'll make on that. First is technology doesn't wait for anybody, right? I think you have to be aware of where it is going, and you have to, make sure that you're aware of those challenges and how do you respond to it. That's one. Second is that this concept of home health and home care and preventative is something which hospitals themselves can lead. To me, the hospitals, and I'm sure that Aditya and others will talk about it, is something that you need to look at yourself to make sure that you're in that business going forward, because technology is not going to take it away. At the end of the day, somebody like an Apple or a Samsung or a Google might actually come with devices which are tracking everything. And if you, as a medical services provider, or we as technology partners are not in the game, it might actually go to somebody else as well. So, but the important thing is to understand and realize it, and how do you intend to track it?
May I make a comment? I think that's, if I could use the word, I'm sorry to use this, it's myopic. Because one must understand the value of exactly what you have said. If patients are treated in this fashion, the physician is likely to get more complicated cases into his system, and he's likely to earn much more in the long run. And I think it is very important that we remind ourselves of the first point that the director over here made. A physician should not be just a physician. A physician also needs to be a manager. And a physician has to have the maturity to understand what is good for society and deliver that first. And realize that in the bargain, he will never be at a loss. Okay. He will actually gain. And that is the way forward.
Right.
One last point I want to make. It's interesting you say that. And just reflect on the comment I made. There's a huge gap between demand and supply. So if there will be technology that will enable patients to get treated at home, I can assure you the hospitals will run full and physicians will still have enough patients to see. Our perspective is home health is a given, it's happening. E-health is a given, it's happening. And it's only going to free up the existing infrastructure to treat more patients, which is a dire need of the country, given that we are a social sector.
I think in the last 45 minutes I was getting worried because I was not hearing the two words disruptive innovation enough. I think Aditya has brought that important element back, and I have captured that Aditya, home health and M or E health is given, and that will result in disruptive changes in models, and we better prepare ourselves. Okay, I mean, wherever we have seen great success, disruptive innovations, disruptive models, and the boldness and the ability to take on that has been a reason. Now, for the sake of inclusivity, I have to give a chance to this gentleman who is patiently waiting for quite some time.
Thank you, sir.
Please.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we are talking about the, myself is Umesh, I am from Fortis Healthcare.
So, and which Fortis? A little bit more about yourself.
Fortis Memorial Research Institute, Gurgaon. So, my question is, sir, I am heading the HR department over there.
Fantastic. I'm happy that I'm asking you, because we are missing an HR element in the discussion, a preventive element of the discussion, because we have covered so many other points. So please go ahead.
So my question is, like, we are talking about the deficit trust, and now we are talking about like whether technology and then the healthcare provider and then financial, they have to come together and then like change the perception, so, and with the government. And why the PPP model is not successful in healthcare industry, and why into the with other industries successful? And if we are able to make it successful PPP model, I think we would be able to change the perception. So
I think firstly we have to change. That's an easy, a little light answer, I know. The PPP that your boss said was different. Huh? Do you remember that argument?
No, I'm not talking about the peer provider.
Can I ask you, do you remember one of the three words that I know I'm putting you on a spot, but you are HR and HR should be habituated. So tell one of the P's that Aditya Vij mentioned, which I have made serious note of. Because all of you must carry something interesting that these experienced panelists have taken. Sir, for your safety, I'll not push you. If you want to say pass, okay? So shall I pass?
So
now I'm going to still ask the question somebody else.
So that was
what is it?
I said it's a peer provider partnership.
Another P that Aditya talked about.
Provider.
Another P, the most important one. Yes.
Partner.
Okay, great. I think so. You have given this panel something to remember by. So PPP. I'll give my answer. As a seasoned, experienced person who has hated being in PPP panels many times in the last 10 years. As chairperson of leading industry organizations, I had to suffer 52 slides presentation knowing that it will result in nothing. I'll give you a one-word answer. The one-word answer, sir, is that there is trust deficit between the two sides. There is no agreement which can create that. The government's demand and the private sector's deliverers, the private sector's expectation, what government wants to give, have never matched. It is interesting, there are about 100 examples of very good PPP around the country. It is a state-driven subject. Some states have understood this problem, overcome that, and therefore they have been successful. But it has not become scalable. This is my humble answer. If any of you want to quickly give a response to that, yeah?
I can build on that. I think the devil is in the detail, and the detail is always wrong. So it always breaks down there, right? So you may do all the panel discussion that all of us do, but finally it's a contract, and the contract is fundamentally misaligned, then it is going to fail, whatever you may do. But that doesn't mean it cannot work. There are examples which do work, and we have to work towards it.
Excellent point you made, devil in the detail. One of my great gurus in Hewlett-Packard days, one day we are all scared because that was a contract session. We are all senior leaders from around Asia Pacific who had to talk about our contracts and all that, and we thought we'll be taken apart by that great American gentleman who was HP leader at that time. And he said, great leader to have. He looked at some of us and said, hey, touch your heart and say, after signing, how many times you have gone through any contract, however important big is, etc., etc. All of us said, not a single time, unless a problem came. I think there is an underlying factor of trust in all contracts which Ajay brings up. Therefore, PPP possibly can succeed if the image gets better, if the trust factor is more. Sir, please. Can someone give a mic? Hello, I'm going to come to you. I feel tempted. As a consumer, not J&J.
I'm Dr. Chaturvedi.
Sir.
I'm Director, GSS Hospital, Mysore. I had two previous experiences about public-private partnership. One was in Bhagwan Mahavir Cancer Hospital, Jaipur, and this model, which started with modest beginning of about 97, about 80-bedded hospital. Now it is a 350-bedded cancer hospital, working very well. Government gave them land for 1 rupee, and they built hospital. It is expanding. They now have 2 linear accelerators, 1 Cobalt, PET CT, and everything, and working very well. Yes, few hiccups were there. Second model, I'll talk about the Vedanta Group. But after that, I went to Raipur, Chhattisgarh. Again, it was Chief Minister's brainchild. He wanted to have a cancer hospital which has to be state of the art. That if not in world, it has to be Asia's best hospital. He flowed in 350 crores, and there was clause to treat about 40% patients free. Definitely is skewed in the favor of government and against this, because when we calculated, I had to tell them that 20 crores per month you have to pay after hospital also, even if we charge at normal market rates, which hospital of course could not, because trust deficit not from hospital side, trust deficit between mining and no-go zone for aluminum industry. Jairam Ramesh versus, I'll not say Mr. Agrawal. That's second. My important question which I want to talk about, disruptive innovation. Yes, I tried it there in Jaipur. We converted one van about 36 feet in length. We had X-ray, mammography, ultrasound, endoscopy. We could do video colposcopy, pap smear, and transmit it with the help of ISRO to our hospital. This van could go everywhere if road permits, and thus we could provide tertiary care institutional level advice to patients. We threw it open to consultants if they can do endoscopy there. They can do endoscopy. Thus you find that all those 6 chronic diseases, you can screen it and provide so that patient or that farmer, he doesn't have to leave his home on earth to come to hospital. 80% of patients can be disposed of there.
Thank
and
you, sir.
follow-up can be done.
Thanks a lot. So you have given 2 great examples, one of disruptive innovation. I think this is to do with the technology making accessibility better. And the first one to me is even more overwhelming. That is one of the perhaps 100 odd examples around the country where PPP has worked.
I've given you example, sorry, I'll not
one last
finish.
Pass on, yes.
I'm just saying that now my question is to G. Well, last time I was sitting with Terry, she had come to Mysore, so we were sharing a platform together. That can you give ultrasound where like I'll say Nikon 53, it can transmit the image? Can you give ECG, but because we are thinking of having a stroke center, command stroke center, the patient puts it there and I get the ECG there, and within golden hour patient can be sent to hospital. So this technological innovation, if you can give both in terms, NATCOM can give about transmission, communication, and can you give about these diagnostic devices where it can be transmitted through wireless or some technology?
That's a great question. I think G overall, and not just in healthcare, is actually looking at this concept called industrial internet, which basically means that every device that GE manufactures should be accessible by the internet. And we've taken a decision last year that every device that we have, whether it's a CT, MR, ultrasound and will all have wireless capability. It will have the capability to either transmit, and more importantly also from the perspective of remote healthcare and technology, if we are selling to remote areas, it's much more important for us to diagnose the machines from a remote area as well. I can't send a service engineer to every single point to diagnose what's going on. So both from a proactive diagnosis as well as reactive diagnosis, it is required for every device that we manufacture now to have internet capability. So yes, answer is yes, and that's exactly the area that we're going towards.
Any other question? I think we, Chirantan, 1 or 2 last questions? Yeah. Oh, okay. Anything more? Yeah, please.
My question is to Milan again. You just spoke about innovation in medical technology and devices, and you mentioned that GE did a huge. Dr. Amit Dhawan, I'm a facility director in Fortis Healthcare. In which Faridabad. Thank you. So, like we did this conclave, so is it possible to go to the public actually and do this kind of concept for the innovation in medical devices or technology, city to city? Because, I mean, in our country, media and these people can go ahead and do nachbaliye stuff in all cities and find out talent there. Because what I believe is that if you do a conclave like this, people would apply online and kind of, educated people come up, apply online, define some subject, and make presentations, and then go to a conclave. But innovation, if you ask me, would happen at a remote area more when we go to the public. So if we go city to city, such innovation would happen more, number one.
It's an innovation roadshow.
Yeah. Second thing, what it would do is, it would create more awareness to the public that such platform exists. Like since yesterday we have been talking about it, since we heard this innovation in medical technology. So is it possible to do, how effective it would be actually?
I think it's a great idea. Unfortunately, multinationals don't make as much money that we can do this in every city in India as much as we'd love to. But the concept that you talked about is gaining ground in innovation in every industry around the world. Is basically, crowdsourcing. The concept is the same, right? To have a platform where regular people are able to come and solve common problems. In fact, they have the $10 million prize, which is available for these kind of things, for solving these huge, big issues. It's an area where we want to work on, and we want to increase the size and scope of what we do. Why we do it in Jack Welch is more because it's a controlled environment where we can expose people to these kind of technologies in terms of what all we have done. So it gives a good roadshow in terms of here are possibilities that you can work on. But it's an interesting idea. I'd love to take it forward beyond one or two cities. Sure. Thank you. Amit?
Dr. Dhawan, actually just adding on to what Milan said, I think in India now recently, over the last 2 or 3 years, I have seen a few health incubators starting up, to your specific points. Because a lot of innovation happens in labs. And if you see globally, these labs get grants and funding to these students who do innovation. Unfortunately, that infrastructure is not well established in India. But there is one incubator that has got set up in Bangalore and one in Delhi. At least they've started off to help do engine funding and incubation of some of these technologies.
That's a good point, Amit. India had come out in a survey as one of the worst countries to support and encourage young entrepreneurs, innovators. Not everybody has the might of G or the support of G, for example. So what Amit says, around the country, I see for the first time in healthcare, organizations like Health Cursor, located in Hyderabad, Health Start, Pradeep Jai Singh's located in Delhi, TIE, for example. At least the green shoots are there. So it's an encouraging sign. Alok, do you want to make any comment as someone who has worked both globally and in India from JNG platform, please? And I think we'll take one more question after Alok's and
So I'll just cover the last question of medical device innovation because obviously Milan gave the context of medical equipment innovation. I've been quite involved in Singapore with their efforts to create more and more entrepreneurs in the medical device innovation area. And one of the things I found, or one of the initiatives I found pretty good, which is there both in India as well as in Singapore, is the collaboration with Stanford Biodesign. So India has the India Stanford Biodesign program, in which we were initially one of the funders to start that off. And in Singapore, I collaborated with the Economic Development Board to set that up. So it's a very interesting program, and that's a place I think where hospitals can participate very well. Because unlike medical equipment, medical device innovation starts with a surgeon. When he is doing surgery, there are some things which he is not able to do well, and that's when the ideas come in. But our experience has shown that it is a dialogue between 3 people, an engineer, a surgeon, and a venture capitalist who can actually see the value of what these guys are talking about. So it is therefore very distributed. You have to identify it. But that is not all. So Singapore, we saw that the Stanford Biodesign programs, both in India and in Singapore, have been able to come up with innovations. And one of them in India was very, very interesting. They just had a simple sheet which had slip properties so that you could transfer the patient from the stretcher to the table very easily without people breaking their back. Very simple innovation, but it would have great impact. So that is something which we have worked with, and the hospital is very important because once you have the innovation, doctors need to be able to take it forward and see whether it is practical, whether it is safe, whether it clears regulatory hurdles, clinical trials are required. So that collaboration will be good.
Stanford Biodesign, they do a lot of good work in India also with the aims. I just want to make a comment that again the market is taking care of the problem. Since consoles have become billionaires, you don't need any government support anymore. There are hundreds of kids running after solving retail problems, and similarly, if there is a healthcare billionaire, you don't need any. There is enough. We have some healthcare billionaires, right?
Good evening. I'll be putting forward the last question. I am Dr. Rajshekhar. I am chief.
Your ownership of just saved me from being unpopular. Thank you so much. What is your name again?
My name is Dr. Rajshekhar. I am Chief Operating Officer, Global Health City, Chennai.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'll touch upon two topics which are not discussed. One is about the medical education. All the best of the talent is being attracted into the corporate hospitals. Other than Manipal and very few other hospitals have medical colleges, and most of the corporate hospitals doesn't have any medical colleges. So, looking at the future of the medical graduates coming out, I find it a little bit disturbing. What is the fate of the millions and the billion or plus population of our country with this sort of a training? That's question number one. Probably I'd like Professor Jairam to answer this. And the second one is about the public health. NASSCOM, I don't know how much of inputs it has given to the open source, but Nat Health, what is your inputs towards public health? What is that Nat Health is trying to do along with corporate hospitals on the public health front? Wellness and preventive are two grossly neglected areas, and it is being neglected even further. Looking at the future, we are talking about moving from 40 billion to 280 billion. We are all, whether we should be happy or we should feel sad that these two important things are being neglected. So I want you to answer that.
Dr. Rajshekhar, I think first of all you are providing a brilliant finish to this very engaging panel. We all learned from Ajay 2 hours back that we need to give time to ourselves. So I am going to request Dr. Jairam to answer your question at first. Then I'll talk about Nat Health in public health.
Your concern is genuine. I don't think there is any doubt that the quality of not only physicians but healthcare workers is questionable, because the number that is required and the speed at which they are coming out are both contributory. However, it's not that people are not thinking about it. Unfortunately, this time the government is also addressing it. And I don't know whether you're aware, but there is a attempt through Medical Council and the government to have an exit exam to enable uniformity in the quality of physicians that are coming out. Here is my statement. Health has a huge demand in this country, and ongoing this demand is only going to rise. If there is demand, then supply and efficiency will set itself right. It may take time, and I'm sure there will be a gap when quality will not be as good as it should be, but it will happen.
Thank you, Dr. Jairam. Shekhar, you're much younger, so I can call you Shekhar. Can I? Very simple answer. Nat Health is a 2-year young organization. We have so far struggled with many other priorities. We have not touched public health, but it's in our agenda. We are thinking of, for example, working with PHFI, Public Health Foundation of India, the very eminent Dr. Sinath Reddy. I'm in touch with him. So this is part of the roadmap ahead. So next time I am Bangalore, arranges a beautiful program like this, hopefully I'll be able to tell you more. Okay, I think all good things have to come to an end. I want to sincerely, heartfelt thanks to this tremendously eminent panel for making it, even for me, a session full of learning, engagement and fun. And very brilliant audience, including to you, sir. I'm very curious to know from you which country you belong to. And what is your nationality? Not the Singaporean one. French. Okay, I was actually, on this note, I'd like to finish. I'm very happy that our colleague from Johnson & Johnson is French and not English, because I'll now ask you to raise hands. Nothing to do with healthcare. How many of you follow cricket or take interest in cricket? I'm starting myself. Okay. Now, for those who have raised hands, what would you say? Healthcare has a image deficit, more image deficit, or Dhoni's team has more image deficit? Yeah. Okay. So I think for those of us, we heard marketing. I like to. I've been in marketing for many years of my life. I learned there are 3 types of organizations: those which make things happen, those which watch things happen, and those which wonder what happened. Okay, there are 3 types. What is Aditya will say, hey, I'm making things happen. Sure you are. Some others may say, hey, I'm making a few, I'm watching things happen also and learning. And some are just lost, wondering what happened. So I think when IIM Bangalore, like eminent institution, calls a panel like this, and we are all here from various cities, and we had, this is a rare, I was concerned that this panel was 2-hour duration. We have talked, yeah, I was concerned there is 2 hours. God, what shall we, I mean, it has been it is one of the best, most engaging, very rich, and very sort of from the heart kind of discussion. I thank fellow panelists. I wish all of you a wonderful evening, and I sincerely thank Chirantan, Professor Chirantan Chatterjee, and I am Chirantan, Chiru, and see, this is called you get a small hole and you enter there straight away. So I'm happy. I think I won't say anything more in this note of laughter. Let us sort of say that we are very thankful that you gave us the opportunity to enjoy and discuss very meaningfully. I'm sure you have recorded everything. It will be wonderful. Many such discussion in India just fizzle off without a follow-up. It will be wonderful if you can start this as a crude word I use, as a regular property, with a lot of follow-up from the points that came. And I can offer from Nat Hill, I'll be very gladly offering this kind of support. Aditya, what do you say? I mean, all of us will be very glad to be part of your follow-up program. Thank you very much once again. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.